Hotep family, I'm back. Tonight we're going to get into another edition of analyzing weird things that people say when they want to disrupt and naysay the revolution and be critical of Afrocentrics. This time we're going to focus on an individual who claims that there's no such thing as African science. This has been going on for quite some time now. So we're going to get into that momentarily. Meanwhile, just as always, we're going to warm up and you're going to listen to the djembe drums. We're going to start the video. We're going to warm things up by replaying some footage that I played on my previous live stream. We're going to start this around the 5-minute mark. Give people a chance to jump in and watch. So like, share, and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment in the chat. Again, we're going to start it at the 5-minute mark. All right, like I said, we're going to start at the 5-minute mark. Here pretty shortly. We're going to warm up with a short little segment from Sodnetter. And then we're going to get to some other segments focusing on two individuals. So here we go.
Somebody to use what they use. I need you to read that comment on the screen. That's for you.
I'm not reading that. I can't read that. I can't read no more. I forgot to read. no, it's a paid. It's paid.
Read it
That's,
for him. Let you
that's
stop.
King
Can I jump in
Hercules.
real
The King
quick?
Hercules is a pseudo. I'm not listening to him.
Ask was all this science info he has now when I done my mathematical presentation. Ask them why none of these Oreo PKs replied to any of the 7 presentations I have done. Jump, Bama.
Because he got over 200 slides.
Anyway, so as you can see, this individual from a infamous group called the Pseudo Killers, with as much antagonism and as much European scholarship that they rely on so far, they are now known as the new pseudos. So as you can see, he just ignored pretty much another scholar that watches and participates in the ongoing discussions and presentations. First, the claim was, to get you caught up on things, first the claim was that there's no such thing as African science. There's no connection between
Slides, and anybody got
science
200
and
slides is a
spirituality.
dedicated pseudo.
Egyptian science.
Somebody
So-
will use what they use.
Pretty much going back and speeding things up now, the ongoing debate, it was unwarranted anyway to call for the unwarranted so the ongoing debate was about, does African science exist? So they lost that debate. Fast forward, we're going to show you something that recently happened, a discussion between 2 people on Sodnetter's show. We're going to get into that, and we're going to show you just how disingenuous this disruptive behavior is.
Egyptian science is proto-science.
Don't tell me what. Method of quote-unquote African science is like a philosophical evaluation of
Egyptian science is proto-science.
Don't tell me what my source need to say. You're not shoemaning me into a position. Let's go. Share the screen.
No, I want to know what you're going to share before I share it.
We're discussing African science, right? So let's go.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So we're going to be looking at the method of quote-unquote African science. It's like a philosophical evaluation of Chris Akpan, the Department of Philosophy of Nigeria. So we're not being racist here. We're going to Africans themselves evaluating so-called African science, right? The issue concerning the authentic method of Western modern science has been a problem to science and philosophers of science alike. While some think inductive method is a hallmark of science, some believe science progresses better through a deductive method. The problem of method of science is not peculiar to Western science. In African science, here classified into traditional and modernized African science, some elements of Western method of science could also be found. However, the traditional African scientists give their conceptions of the world, tend to give prominence to the metaphysio-religious method of supernaturalism. Did you hear that? Still today.
I don't think you do.
I just asked you if you hear that.
No, wait.
In addition to elements of Western method, given the
As you can see, I had to stop it in the middle before we get too far. But as you can see, when given the opportunity to present a scholarly reference or a piece of evidence, hold on one moment. I'm trying to let you up. There we go. Hotep, how you doing?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, hey, good. What's going on, man?
Just critiquing these so-called pseudo killers that want to go around and antagonize and disrupt Afrocentric thought.
Yeah, let's get into it, man.
Definitely. So you caught this, right? You actually watched this live?
I don't think I watched this one.
Okay, let's matter of fact, let's rewind it back. We're gonna start it from the start.
Science is
Hold on.
proto-science.
Don't tell me what my source need to say. You're not shoe-manning me into a position. Let's go. Share the screen.
I want to know what you're going to share before I share it.
We're discussing African science, right? So let's go.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So you see how eager he was to show that source, right? You see the interesting thing about that source, the ironic thing about that source.
Who's that? Reggie showing that?
Nah, that's Cedric showing that.
Oh, okay.
So while I'm watching this footage, Reggie is ripping apart the debate that was had between King J and Ashe. So he's actually telling the pseudo killers that they were dead wrong and telling them that African science does exist. So what Cedric does is, after Reggie does his spill, he comes up and he's begging him to show a source. So now we're here. But the interesting thing about it is the source that's supposed to show everybody that African science doesn't exist, science is just science, is a evaluation of African science.
Okay.
I mean, and that's what we're dealing with right now. It's just silly at this point. But I'm gonna just. You said what?
I said, yeah, go ahead and let it play so I can see what he said.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to be looking at the method of quote-unquote African science. It's like a philosophical evaluation of Chris Akpan, the Department of Philosophy of Nigeria. So we're not being racist here. We're going to Africans themselves evaluating so-called African science, right? The issue concerning the authentic method of Western modern science has been a problem to science and philosophers of science alike. While some think inductive method is a hallmark of science, some believe science progresses better through a deductive method. The problem of method of science is not peculiar to Western science. In African science, here classified into traditional and modernized African science, some elements of Western method of science could also be found. However, the traditional African scientists give their conceptions of the world, tend to give prominence to the metaphysio-religious method of supernaturalism. Did you hear that? Still today.
I don't think you
Now I have to ask you, since this is your first time watching it, how would you respond to that if he came up to you, right? Y'all was having a conversation about whether African science exists, and he showed you a academic evaluation about African science. How would you respond to that?
I would tell him to keep going. I'm like, yeah, I heard it. Keep going. You know, what's your point? You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I know he's gonna try to get at, but yeah, I'm like, yeah, we should get to your point. And I know what he's gonna say.
Right. You just total ridiculousness, man. At this point, like, how are you supposed to be pushing scientific literacy if you can't even admit that your ancestors had a system of science that was distinct?
Right.
Let me play the rest of this because it's interesting how it gets. It's not long at all.
I didn't say a word. You want to ask me a
I'm
question,
asking you a
Reggie?
question.
Reggie,
Crashing out. Look at Cedric crashing out. Look at him crashing out.
I checked his short out. It's pretty solid. Chris Atkins.
Hey, so and this is funny because King J, he's trying to follow in the pseudo killer footsteps, right? But he knows, just like we do, that he read a source that confirms the existence of African science. But he says, "Oh, Chris Akpan is a good source." But no, that's not the case because while Chris Akpan is Nigerian scholar, he's working on behalf of an American social science journal, and that's important because these people go out of their way and look for specific academic references that contest African tradition.
Pretty solid.
Now wait, Cedric leaves. Now, if you looked at his source, the title of it was African Science. And then it used African Science several times. And then he wants to interpolate, or he wants to interpret for us what we're reading. Now, this being racist, he's saying that he's using an African article. So thank you. The method of African science. So have you ever heard that these people say that the African science doesn't have any mechanism or mythology? Have you ever heard that? They don't even, first of all, they don't even believe in African science. But he gonna pull up an article that says the African science.
Ridiculousness. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replay a video from yesterday that I did on my live, and I'm going to reevaluate that as well. In the meanwhile, I'm going to give more people the opportunity to come in. I'm going to do this at the 21-minute mark. I'm going to allow some people to join, some people to come on the panel. And then we'll get into it.
Egyptian science is proto-science.
Don't tell me what my source needs to say. You're not shoemaning me into a position. Let's go. Tell me.
I want to know what you're going to share before I share it.
We're discussing African science, right? Well, let's go.
Yeah, okay. All right. So
So we're going to be looking at the method of quote unquote African science. It's like a philosophical evaluation of Chris Akpan, the Department of Philosophy of Nigeria. So we're not being racist here. We're going to.
He went out of his way to get that reference, that evaluation. And that's what I said. I always say these people have an ulterior motive, because instead of you can tell by the type of sources that he gets that he has a methodology that's biased. Through his research to try to disprove the existence of African science, he came up with a Nigerian's evaluation of African science through the Western lens. I mean, that's diabolical. That's just telling people that you don't like African anything, whether it be science, art, no matter what.
Why
I
don't
just
you
want
let
to ask
me
you a
do what
question.
I didn't say a word.
No,
You
let's
want to
go.
ask me a
I'm
question,
asking you a
Reggie?
question.
So let's go.
Okay.
You want to
All right.
restart it.
So we're going to be looking at the method of quote unquote African science. It's like a philosophical evaluation of Chris Akpan, the Department of Philosophy of Nigeria. So we're not being.
I'm just going over it again. I'm going to go over it again, and I'm going to explain why he went out of his way just to get an evaluation.
All right, all right.
I actually show your video too.
Racist.
Yeah, I saw that.
Two Africans themselves evaluating so-called African science, right? The issue concerning the authentic method of Western modern science has been a problem for science and philosophers of science alike. While some think inductive method is a hallmark of science, some believe science progresses better through a deep.
I'm just going to replay it again,
Himself,
just so we know where he got this source from.
So-called African science, right? The issue concerning the authentic method of Western modern science has been a problem for science and philosophers of science alike.
So as I mentioned earlier, this individual got this source specifically from an American science journal. And he knew that the headline read as you can just see it now: The Method of African Science, a Philosophical Evaluation. And like just from for the layman, if you didn't study any science or philosophy classes, would you think that this would be a good source to disprove the existence of African science? But this just goes to show you the link. Yo, you echoing real bad. Can you hear me? All right, but like I was saying, he'll probably be back on. But like I was saying, this just goes to show you the extent that they'll go to just to be disruptive.
While some think inductive method is a hallmark of science, some believe science progresses better through a deductive method. The problem of method of science is not peculiar to Western science. In African science, here classified into traditional and modernized African science, some elements of Western method of science could also be found. However, the traditional African scientists give their conceptions of the world.
King Hurt, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. Just a
All right.
damn laptop. So I had to
All
restart.
right, cool. All right.
Give the conceptions of the world tend to give prominence to the metaphysio religious method of supernatural.
Yeah, the natural. That's what he
Go ahead.
try to say is that.
Did you hear that?
You heard?
Still
Yeah, but
today.
I don't think you.
I just asked if you heard that.
And what's crazy about this is he actually thought he had a dagger of some kind to disprove that African science exists. And this is after the fact that a debate has already been had. And this is why I don't debate. Because no matter how bad a guy loses in the debate, the topic can still go on. The discussion can still go on, and people can pretend like everything is just normal, and you know everybody was wrong when they were correct, but the people who were incorrect are somehow correct. You know what I mean? It doesn't play out.
In addition to
Yeah.
elements of Western method, given the Reggie, you put me,
Wait, watch this, ladies and gentlemen. He simply gave us a paper to read. Pseudo dies of the sword. A pseudo killer dies of the sword. Okay.
Reggie, the source is.
And that's exactly what he did. He died on his own source. Like they had that saying for the longest for themselves to, project out to other people. But they do so much European scholarship and resourcing that they died on their own source this time. Europeans can't even deny the existence of African science. The only thing they can do is evaluate it and come up with a negative conclusion or opinion about it. What's your thoughts on this, King Hercules?
Yeah, he definitely died on the source. I mean, like I said, he just want to say that because there's no because it involves the supernatural, therefore it's not science. But that's not proof that it's not science at all.
Right, and that's it. Of course, he was going to take that angle too. He couldn't have been too ignorant and too intellectually deficient to just come up with a source that simply says the method of African science and evaluation and then think he was going to get away with it. Of course, he had to be cunning with it, but it's crazy. What type of people do you think follows these type of people?
I don't know. It's crazy that there's a lot of people that do follow him. It's just it seems like they just.
You think it's just
Western culture.
Right, and that's what I was thinking too. Is I think these people have a lot of white people in their lives, and they don't want to make these people feel threatened. You know what I mean? I don't know what these people jobs and they backgrounds that they got going on, but I feel that it has to be something like that, because what else is keeping you from acknowledging African, accomplishments and African heritage? It's just crazy, man.
Yeah, they on that kumbaya.
But I want this to go to the end because Reggie gets into him. Go ahead and say what you was gonna say.
No, I said they on that kumbaya BS.
Yeah, they definitely are. And see, the reason why I'm doing this, I don't even do this, but it just needs to be said that these people do not know what they're talking about, and they're the real pseudos. They holding us back because they have a large following.
Up there, Reggie, the source is undisputed.
Can I ask you some questions?
No, don't ask me no question. I'm gonna do my presentation. Reggie, what are you afraid of?
I'm not afraid.
So why don't you let me do what I didn't say a word.
No,
You
I'm
want to
not,
ask me a
I'm
question,
asking you a question.
Reggie? Reggie,
Crashing out. Look at Cedric crashing out. Look at him crashing out.
I checked the short style. It's pretty solid. Chris Atkins.
No, it wasn't.
Now
Pretty
Cedric
solid.
leaves. Now wait, Cedric leaves. Now, if you looked at his source, the title of it was African Science. And
Yes.
then it used African Science several times.
Uh-huh.
And then he wants to interpolate, or he wants to interpret for us what we're reading. Now, this be racist. He's saying that he's using an African article. So thank you. The method of African science. So have you ever heard that these people say that the African science doesn't have any mechanism or mythology? Have you ever heard that? They don't even, first of all, they don't.
And I just want to say, if I don't appreciate Reggie for doing anything else, it's this one. I appreciate Reggie this time for laying down the facts and putting things into proper perspective, because this was definitely needed. I appreciated Sodnetter as a platform for allowing Reggie to come out and do this. Don't worry, I'm gonna close out with your video that you showed of Unc ignoring you, and I want you to share your thoughts about that. We're gonna get into it right here.
Somebody to use what they use. I need you to read that comment on the screen. That's for you.
I'm not reading that. I can't read that. I can't read no more. I forgot to read.
No, it's a paid. It's paid.
Read it for him.
That's King Hercules. He's the King Hercules is a pseudo. I'm not listening to him.
As Unc was all this science info he has now, when I done my mathematical presentation, ask them why none of the Oreo PKs reply to any of the 7 presentations I have done. Jump bomber.
Oh, what's your thoughts on that? On the way that he responded to that?
He just let me know he wasn't ready. That's all it meant.
Right.
He wasn't ready. You know, to say that, I'm not replying to you because you got all these millions of slides. That's dumb.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's my thing. I told people before, like, why you guys doing all these debates and you guys going around correcting all these people. And this goes for anybody, not just the pseudo killers and people who follow in the pseudo killer footsteps, but anybody. If you correcting somebody information, you supposed to been put out some information yourself. So it's important to do presentations when you walking around and you supposed to be the authority this and the scientific literacy master and this and that. It's just you gotta have that.
Right. So yeah, I just when he said that, I was I wasn't too surprised. It was like, you saw my presentations, but yet y'all don't want to reply to me. You know what I'm saying? They reply to some evolution, some Bible shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
DNA and all that. But you know what I'm saying? When I came with it, they didn't want to reply. And then he replied to the youngins. He made a video to the young guys like God Energy and Humble and them. He made a video about them. And I was like, come on, man. And I think that's what this was about. They was talking about that, like, why you replying on the youngins? You know what I'm saying? Why you getting? He's like, nah, they ain't ready. They ain't been reading enough. This and that. And so that's why I sent that comment. Like, you talking all that? Like, you didn't have that smoke for me.
Right,
so
man. Before we end this live chat, I want to do a replay of the footage that I put together of me and you getting in Unc about Cambone and Malife Kiti Asante. So I'm gonna let this end, and then I'm gonna play the other clip.
Because he got over 200 slides, and anybody that got 200 slides is a dedicated pseudo. Death by PowerPoint.
He a jokester.
That's why. You don't know what you talk about if you got 200 slides. Not responding to that foolishness. Nuts.
Ridiculous, bro. Hey, give me a moment to pull up this other one. It's only like 3 minutes and a couple of seconds long.
All right.
I wanted to stop because I want to get this Cambone thing out the way. Yo, he's a pseudo. He's the only one that says that. His work has not been accepted. It's him saying it.
Yo, you know what's crazy? Looking at this in hindsight, this really got to me because Cambone is Abadele Cambone is boots on the ground. Like he's got an institution of BB Toomey, and the same thing with Malife. He's a pretty much a founder of an Africana Studies program, and he's saying this.
Right.
Like you're supposed to lead by example. You know what I mean? It's all about ego, though.
Right.
That does not count in the world I live in. The world I live in is based off of checks and balances, based off of high-level critiques. Just having a doctor in front of your name does not run my world. Yet there is scholarly critique on that work. This man is blacked out by review. He wildin' Cambone is. Y'all know it, and I know it. Worse, because he used his title to do it. No, sir. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing the one-person scholarship.
Of different people. I think we really need it. We need to really bathe in blackness for a while. Black tell
and Malay Ashanti, yo, he's official in his title, yo, person scholarship.
Of different people. And
I had to rewind it back real quick.
Your country, migrations of people out. All right. Now this is
man. I don't care about Ashanti, and I like him, yo. So I don't want to say nothing against the man, yo. But I just want you to know the man can be wrong. He can agree with Cambone, and they both can be wrong, and that don't mean they ain't cool, yo. That don't mean that parts of their other work ain't right, yo.
You notice how he doubled back?
Yeah.
So after he said he not doing the one person scholarship, I brought up the second scholar and he doubled back. It's just hilarious at this point.
It don't mean that, yo, right? Because a Cambone, he does have it. He is an official linguistic person. And Malay Ashanti, yo, he's official in his title, yo. But why he gotta be right about everything to make him official? That's not what makes him official in the world we in. We're governed by rules and regulations, man, and checks and balances and science. Malay Ashanti, Afrocentrism, groundbreaking idea for him. That doesn't take away from that, man. Cambone doesn't make him crazy because he has some ideas that are wrong or even pseudoscientific. Damn, like we gotta stop making all or nothing. That's not how we think as thinking people. In academia, yo, you're allowed to have ideas that have been teased out.
He gonna get upset in a minute.
That's not a problem.
Watch.
If race is arbitrary, then could we say that being called black was a political term?
It's a political term and a term which indicates our self-awareness at this juncture in history. And I think we really need it. We need to really bathe in blackness for a while. Black tells you how you look, but it don't tell you who you are. We are essentially an African people. Wherever we live on this earth, we're essentially an African people.
He about to get real upset.
Millions of African people throughout the world.
Hey, you see him? He frustrated now all because I said, well, if scholars can be wrong sometimes, can't we say the same thing for who you playing now, John Henry Clark? Watch what his response gonna be. Oh, this thing acting up, man.
We are essentially an African people. Wherever we live on this earth, we're essentially an African people. And we relate to the millions of African people throughout the world.
Now, my man right here he said, well, the same thing will apply to John Henry Clark. This Tehuti. Well, the same thing can apply to, yes, John Henry Clark can be wrong, but he's not wrong about this because we can prove at this point, you just chatty in the panic. But it's cool, though. It's cool.
Hey, I don't care what nobody say. That's classic right there. That's a classic soundbite. He's seen that he conceded. He realized he conceded in the whole argument, and he just sit back and he just let it go. Classic soundbite.
Yeah, man, them guys funny. They're funny and annoying though. Actually, it's funny and frustrating dealing with them guys. That's why I'm stopping engaging. I ain't engaging with them no more. I'm tired of it.
Exactly. I'm gonna close out in a bit with this, and then I'm gonna get into some other things too. But like I said before, you're more than welcome to give a presentation on this channel, bro.
All right, yeah, definitely, man. You know, with you, yeah, I'm gonna hop off, but I'm gonna keep watching.
All right, no doubt. A BB to me.
All right, BB too.
Millions of African people throughout the world. And
because we can prove at this point, you just chatty in the panic. But it's cool, though. It's cool. Man, let me show you. Let me start right up here at the damn top. Come right here. The political unifying movement, right? All right, that doesn't mean the origin of the population. Two different things. But it's the origin for the political. It's a integrating cultural traits. Let me review section. Accumulated research over 3 decades.
I just wanted to go over that in conjunction with me critiquing the other individuals' massive failure. That was an epic fail. And what I'm specifically talking about is when you're supposed to be the scientific literacy expert, and all this time you've been strutting around talking about how African science isn't a thing, it doesn't exist. And then when your opportunity comes to bring up some sources to source up, you mess around and you bring up a source that evaluates African science. How disingenuous. You should go into hiding, but I know that's not what you're going to do. The pseudo killers brand is in trouble, but you know, as a people, we tend to protect the lie. We tend to gravitate to what's popular anyway. So I know you're not going to discontinue what you're doing now to get back to where you were. You know what it means to be Afrocentric. You know how important that is to STEM. You know how important it is to connect spirituality and science and acknowledge the existence and significance of African science if you are indeed pushing STEM for the black race. But of course, you know, you got to eat too. You got to put out false information that's popular. It serves as clickbait. It gets you paid. So now at this time, I'm going to close out momentarily, but not before I play Cedric's video and massive failure one last time.
Egyptian science is proto-science.
Don't tell me what my source need to say. You're not shoemaning me into a position. Let's go. Share the screen.
No, I want to know what you're going to share before I share it.
We're discussing African science, right? So let's go.
Yeah, okay. All right. So
we're going to be looking at the method of quote-unquote African science.
Somebody to use what they use. I need you to read that comment on the screen. That's for you.
Egyptian science is proto-science.
Don't tell me what my source need to say. You're not shoemaning me into a position. Let's go. Share the screen.
No, I want to know what you're going to share before I share it.
We're discussing African science, right? So let's go.
Yeah, okay. All right. So
we're going to be looking at the method of quote-unquote African science. It's like a philosophical evaluation of Chris Akpan, the Department of Philosophy of Nigeria. So we're not being racist here. We're going to Africans themselves evaluating so-called African science, right? The issue concerning the authentic method of Western modern science has been a problem to science and philosophers of science alike. While some think inductive method is a hallmark of science, some believe science progresses better through a deductive method. The problem of method of science is not peculiar to Western science. In African science, here classified into traditional and modernized African science, some elements of Western method of science could also be found. However, the traditional African scientists give their conceptions of the world, tend to give prominence to the metaphysico-religious method of supernaturalism. Did you hear that? Still today.
I don't think you do.
I just asked you if you had that.
No, wait.
In addition to elements of Western method. Reggie, you put me.
Wait, watch this, ladies and gentlemen. He simply gave us a paper to read. Pseudo dies of the sword. A pseudo killer dies of the sword. Okay.
Reggie, the source is up there. Reggie, the source is on the screen.
Can I ask you some questions?
No, don't ask me no question. I'm going to do my presentation. Reggie, what are you afraid of?
I'm not afraid.
So why don't you let me do what I didn't say a word. You want to ask me a question,
asking you a question.
Reggie.
Crashing out. Look at Cedric crashing out. Look at him crashing out.
I checked the source out. It's pretty solid. Chris Atkins. Pretty solid.
Now wait, Cedric leaves. Now, if you looked at his source, the title of it was African Science, and then it used African Science several times. And then he wants to interpret. He wants to interpolate, or he wants to interpret for us what we're reading. Now, this be racist. He's saying that he's using the African article. So thank you. The method of African science. So have you ever heard that these people say that the African science doesn't have any mechanism or mythology? Have you ever heard that? They don't even, first of all, they don't even believe in African science. But he's going to pull up an article that says the African science.
That was right on time. So like I said, that concludes this live stream. going to close out in a few minutes. And as always, I'm going to leave you with the djembe drums. Like, share, and subscribe. Type in the comments what you think. If you show up before the stream ends, feel free to drop a chat. I want to thank the 2 viewers that stopped by, one including King Hercules. Visit his channel when you get the chance. He puts out good information. He has a couple presentations on YouTube, so check it out. Definitely hit the Cash App. The QR code is in the Cash App, or the Cash App, I should say, is in the QR code. I'm going to be attempting to go live more frequently. This channel is starting to gain a little bit momentum, so we're going to see where it goes from there.